Rice farming. It is impossible to discuss Chinese history and culture without talking about rice. Paleo-ethnobotanists have unearthed evidence that rice was being grown and harvested in eastern China as early as 6000 BCE. And despite inevitable periods of drought and famine, rice has sustained a growing Chinese population for nearly 500 generations. Rice provided Chinese civilization with a stable, nutritious food supply, and much of the Chinese emperor's energy was spent defending China's rich food stores from raiders like their Mongol neighbors. The emperor was also responsible for maintaining the complex system of waterways and drainage systems that were necessary for rice cultivation. Rice was a very difficult and demanding grain to grow, but if you put a lot of work into it, you were rewarded with a good harvest. Unlike Europeans who spent much of their time waiting around for the ground to thaw, or for the rains to come, or for the crops to grow, Chinese rice farmers had to tend to their crops constantly. A lazy rice farmer was a poor rice farmer, and much of the stereotype that Asians are hardworking people comes from their agricultural history. In China, if you didn't work hard, you didn't eat. Rice is typically grown in fields called paddies, which are filled with fresh water like vast, shallow pools. To prepare a rice paddy properly, you have to surround it with low mud walls to keep the water in, and you have to carefully prepare the paddy so that it is level and packed with clay all along its bottom. Then you have to make sure the paddy has the proper amount of water by building canals and waterways that will carry water from the river and distribute it among all the interconnected fields and paddies. Before the rice was planted by hand, one step at a time, it was usually grown in small seed beds so that it could get a head start before being planted in the paddies, where the rice would have to compete with weeds for oxygen. Once planted, the paddies had to be weeded constantly until the rice was ready for harvest. At harvest time, rice farmers cut down the rice with curved, long-handled blades called scythes, just as most grain is harvested. The rice was then threshed like other grains and distributed to the people of Imperial China. As with all civilizations, a stable food supply allows a certain number of people to excuse themselves from the hard job of growing food. These people become government administrators, builders, artists, poets, warriors, and philosophers. In this way, a civilization becomes great, and Imperial China was without question one of the greatest civilizations in human history. We have their rice farmers to thank for that.